everybody and welcome to a new video. I'm sorry if I keep like fanning myself or something today or messing with my hair because it's so hot, and I've just had to close all the windows because we live on a main road, so you would not be able to hear me if I had the windows open. So it's a bit warm, and as you can tell probably from how shiny I am, it is warm. But today I am going to do my updated what I have watched in, I'm going to do this as July and August because I'm at the moment watching some series. So I won't watch anything else if I'm watching those, and they have quite a few series and I don't watch them for a long time each day, so it'll take me a while to get through them. So I'm going to do it as a July and August what I have watched, because in the last 2 weeks of August this is what I will be watching, if that makes sense. So this is my July and August what I have watched, and it is at the moment just on Netflix. Okay, so I'm going to start with TV shows. I've got 5 TV shows and 5 films this month. And they are all very similar to each other, so you can tell what I've been feeling this month. But I'm going to start with TV shows, and the most obvious one is, of course, The Umbrella Academy. So The Umbrella Academy Season 2 came out on the 31st of July. So in the last 2 weeks of July, me and Tom watched the whole of Season 1 again. If you haven't seen The Umbrella Academy, it's essentially about this eccentric billionaire who has bought or traded or whatever money for 7 children who have got special abilities. So they were all born without their parents having been pregnant. Like the clip that they give you to explain it is a girl jumps into a pool and then comes back up and she's pregnant and she's having a baby, and then this eccentric billionaire goes and buys it from her. So I think it says at the start 43 women have babies around the world and he gets 7 of them. So yeah, essentially it's just about him and these 7 kids and their life with the superpowers, but the story plot running through it is that the end of the world is coming in 10 days. And it is amazing. I cannot explain. It's written by Gerard Way from a band called My Chemical Romance, who I love. I was going to go see them in June and it's been postponed to next June, and I honestly want to cry. But yeah, there's a band called My Chemical Romance, and a man called Gerard Way, which is their lead singer, has written a comic book called The Umbrella Academy, and then others after that, which is what this TV show is based off. But it is really good. If you like things like superpowers and superheroes and all of that, you will really love this. It is such, I don't know how to explain it. It's like action all the way through. Like there's always something happening, and then there's underlying storylines like romance and different like feelings from different characters that you get from each way. Season 2 is just as good as Season 1, so there is now 2 seasons that you can watch if you have not watched it. Season 2 is basically along the same storyline, but it kind of dips back into the first storyline, and it is so good. Honestly, if you like Marvel stuff and things like that, you will love Umbrella Academy because it's on the same kind of line as that, and it also has the same sort of humour, like Iron Man humour. But yeah, it's really good, so definitely watch The Umbrella Academy. Sticking with kind of the funny aspect, the next thing that we have watched is The Floor is Lava. So this came out a little while ago. I know some people put it in like April, June time that they were watching it, but it's so funny. So it's an American like game show almost. So we have here in the UK, I don't know if it's in the US as well, it probably is, we have a thing called Total Wipeout, and it's a bit like that. So essentially it's called The Floor is Lava because the floor is lava. It's basically water, but groups of 3, so teams of 3, normally it's like a mum or a dad and their kids, or like work friends or something like that, and they have to get from one end of the room to the other but you can only use the objects in the room to get around. So it'll be based off like a kitchen or a living room or a bedroom. The bedroom one is so funny because there's this 4-poster bed that spins round and you have to jump on it and then you have to jump off it onto other things. It's so funny. Me and Tom are always like, why are they being so stupid? But we know that if we were on it, we would not be able to do it. It's one of those things where you're like at home doing a game show and you know the answer, but you know if you were there you would have no clue. It is so funny, and they basically win £10,000, but it's like each episode is like three groups of 3 that do it all at separate times, and whoever does it quickest or with the most people getting to the end wins. But it's really funny watching them, like when they go into the water, if their like leg goes in the water and they grab themselves out, you know that that's them out, so they have to do this really dramatic like into this lava. It's so funny. That is the word to describe this film, this TV show. It is just hilarious. There are so many episodes to watch. I think there's like 10 episodes to watch, but they're about an hour long, so they would be on like BBC and have an hour slot, if that makes sense. But yeah, definitely watch this as a like game show kind of TV show. We watched it like with our dinner and stuff. It was so funny. Like, yes, definitely watch this one. Okay, calming it down a little bit, the next thing that we watched, I watched half of these on my own and half of them with Tom, and it's a program called Say I Do, and it's about these 3 gay men who make weddings happen for people. So they'll go around to different couples and the man will tell the girl, or the other man or the girl will tell the other girl, the couples will have one person knowing that it's about a wedding and the other person thinks that people are there to film them about their love story, and then about halfway through one of them proposes to the other and then they're like, okay, am I going to get married this weekend? And the 3 gay men essentially make their wedding happen for them. But it's really funny at the start watching the person who's proposing essentially has to explain what's their ideal wedding to the 3 people before, the 3 men before, so they have some sort of idea that they're based off, and sometimes they have no clue. They're like, I don't know, like he goes, what sort of wedding dress would they like, or what sort of suit would they like, and he's just like, I don't know. So then like 2 days before they like plan to get wedding, after there's been proposed, these 3 men like pull this poor woman up and like, what do you want this, what do you want this, what do you want this, what do you want this. Obviously it's so amazing for them, but it's funny like watching them get overwhelmed. So when we were watching them, I sat there to Tom going, just so you know, this is what I want for our wedding. Knowing that when we get married we definitely will do it together, but I was just like, just so you know, I want this and this and this and this. But yeah, it's so cute as well though, watching the get married, and essentially because they have no do within like actually doing it, so they don't go to the wedding venue before they're getting married to help decorate or anything like that. They just like getting their wedding dress, and the man doing the wedding dresses makes these dresses by hand for these women, and they see it on their wedding day and they're like, oh my god, it's amazing. And yeah, it's just so emotional but so nice, and it just gives you this like warm feeling inside watching it. And there's I think 10 episodes again of different couples that you can watch, and they all have different themed weddings. But yeah, it's just amazing. If you like things like fairy tale weddings, definitely watch this, because it's not Disney, but it is like just making a wedding happen, and all of them have like a specific reason to want to get married, and they always connect to one of the 3 men, and it's just so cute watching them have these like little heart to hearts. But yeah, so if you're a very romantic person, watch this one. Okay, number 4 on the TV shows is one that is more of a nostalgia thing for me, and it is the Babysitters Club. So I used to read these books when I was a kid. It's essentially about 4 girls who are friends. Well, it's 2 girls and they make friends with 2 other girls, and then eventually another 2 girls, but they essentially get the plan to charge people to babysit because the mum of one of the kids wants her to look after her brothers. Then she's like, oh, we may as well start like an agency, like a club, and they call it the Babysitters Club, for people to hire them to look after their kids, and they like get things and stuff, but it's also about their friendships. So each episode is them like growing their things or getting problems along the way, like some other club tries to get their club and they're like, nah. Yeah, but essentially it's really nice. It's watching, they're all like 14 or something like that, so it's good for children as well and teens to watch this. But it teaches like being nice to each other and different things like that, and there's a girl who's got diabetes and things like that, and there's a whole episode around that and how she was ashamed, or how her parents were ashamed, or she thought her parents were ashamed, and things like that. But yeah, it's just really nice, and it was so nice for me watching it because I used to read the books, and I think there was a film or something based on it like back in the day. I can't remember, but I swear I remember watching something about it. But it's just so nice, and in the last couple of episodes they go on like a trip somewhere, and yeah, it's really nice. It takes me back to being youth. Okay, this last thing is my favourite. I didn't think I would like this. I watched the first episode and I was just like, it's okay, so I started watching it in the background, and then the more I watched, the more I got into it, and now I dedicate time to sitting down and watching this, and it is Schitt's Creek. I love it. I am now in halfway through season 5, so I've only got a season and a half left, which is about 20 episodes, and I honestly want to cry. But it's one I will watch again. Like Gilmore Girls, I have watched 8 times. There are 7 seasons and I have watched it 8 times. Schitt's Creek I am doing that with. It's so easy to watch. It's so, like, episodes 20 minutes, so they're so quick to get through, and you can just keep watching them. Like, it's been 2 hours and I watched 6 episodes. I'm like, that's half a season, and I get really sad. But yeah, it's so good. So it's about 4 people who are rich. Mum, a dad, a daughter and a son, and they are from a rich family. They've lived in this big house, and they get all of their money and their assets and things taken away from them, apart from the stuff they can carry. So they grab all their clothes and their like sentimental things and take them with them, and they have to go and live in this town that they've bought. So they've bought this tiny little town, like something you might call a hillbilly town or something like that, where you live in like ranches and stuff like that. But they bought this town called Schitt's Creek, and they have to live in this motel because they have nowhere else to live, but they own the town. So they put them up in this motel, and it's about them dealing with being poor, like having no money, so living in this rundown motel. The first episode is like water leaks into the bed that they're sleeping in, and they're like, no, I have to get out and all of this. But as the seasons go on, they start loving it more, and they start building relationships, and they start making friends and having attachments and things that they do. Like they're part of council and part of like singing clubs and making boyfriends and girlfriends and all of this, and it's so nice. So the start of the season, you have nothing really to be attached to, which is why I think I wasn't too bothered about it. But the further along it gets, just they attach to more, and then they attach themselves to you, and you're just like, oh my god, David, you go. But it's so funny as well. The humour in it is my humour, so it's not something that I'd laugh out loud to. Sometimes there is, but it's just stuff that you're like, I do that, and stuff like that. It's just so nice and so funny and so quick. Like you can watch one, like if you're at home and it's like 1:30 and you're going somewhere at 2, you can put one on and watch it, and then you'll just like want to go home and watch the rest. Like when you're done with whatever you're doing, you'll be like, I'm going to go home and watch the rest, because that episode left me on like, what is going to happen next? Okay, going on to movies. I have 5 movies. The first one is the one that I watched first, and it is the least like any of the others, so I'm going to start with it. And it is The Sun Is Also a Star. I really wanted to read this book of this film. We saw it advertised at the cinema when we were open, but it wasn't really our thing to show. But I really fancied watching it. The main guy in it is Reggie from Riverdale. That is how I knew who he was. And then the girl, I think, has been in a film called Everything Everything. I can't remember. But I wanted to read the book, and then we never had it at the cinema, and then it came onto Netflix, so I thought I may as well watch it because I've got the time. And now I really want to read the book again, because I think it'll be way more detailed than what the film was. It's essentially about a girl who's getting deported from the US back to Jamaica, and she doesn't want to go, and she's doing everything she can not to leave. And then there's this guy that sees her in the train station. Tom said it was a little bit creepy. Sees her in a train station and falls in love with her instantly, and goes and like essentially follows her because he sees her then in the street after seeing her in the train station. And good job he followed her, because she nearly gets run over by a car, and he like pulls her back and saves her from getting hit by this car. So he then says to her, I bet I can make you fall in love with me in an hour or a day or something like that. And she said, well, I only have an hour. And he says, fine, then I'll make it an hour. So they go and have coffee and all of this, and then he says all of these like scientific questions and stuff, because it was an experiment and he's trying to like do the experiment on her, and essentially they do end up falling in love and things like this. But it's then really sad because she still is trying to stop herself getting deported, and the whole movie is about her trying not to leave, and then him not knowing what to do with his future, and then trying to help her not leave and all of this. And then it's like 5 years in the future after that and stuff like that, and it's really cute. It is a bit of a background film, not a background film but a background film. Like, there's not too much going on throughout it to make your interest piqued each time, if that makes sense. Like, you don't like get drawn in because a new like problem has come up, because you know what the main thing is happening throughout the film. So it's really nice and it's romantic and all of this, but it's not one that will make you feel like it was 5 minutes long when it was 2 hours long. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, sometimes you're like, oh my god, that film wasn't 2 hours, like I feel like I've been in there for half an hour. And then sometimes you're like, that film was really long, and it turns out it was an hour and a half. It's a bit in between. Like, it didn't feel really long, but you could also tell it felt the length that it was, essentially. So it was nice. If you like romantic things and just like watching people fall in love, then yeah, that is a film for you. But if you need things that have things keep happening, then this isn't the film for you. So I really want to read the book just to see if there is more things to keep you drawn into, because a book has more pages, and chapters in books need things to like make you want to read the next chapter. So I'm interested to see what they cut out of the film. Okay, the next film that I watched is going to basically set the tone for the rest of the films that I've watched. And it's 16 Candles. I have definitely seen this film before, not in a while, which is why I really wanted to watch it. But it's an 80s film with Molly Ringwald in. Yeah, that sets the tone for the rest of the films. Yeah, 16 Candles is essentially about girl, I can't remember what her name is now, but played by Molly Ringwald, whose sister is getting married tomorrow, but she wakes up and it's her birthday the day before they get married, and everyone's forgotten because everything is going on with the wedding. So she goes to school and all of this and talks to her best friend, but she really likes this guy, and she's just so bummed out that people have forgotten about her birthday that she is just focused on getting the guy instead of all of that. But she's not an eccentric person, so she decides to go to this dance with her friends, and then it all kicks off. Not kicks off angrily, but like everything starts to happen. She goes to this party, and then turns out this guy likes her bag and things like that. In the end, everyone remembers it was her birthday and apologises and all of this, but it's such just an 80s film. I describe 80s films as you really enjoy them, but nothing really happens. So Breakfast Club, I really love The Breakfast Club, but it essentially is just a film where you watch people have detention. Like, nothing really happens, but stuff happens. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I'm okay at describing films, but only to myself. But yeah, this is what 16 Candles is like. It's another one of those 80s films, like Pretty in Pink and all of that. So if you like 80s films and you like Molly Ringwald, then definitely watch 16 Candles if you haven't already. The next one is Did You Hear About the Morgans? So I first heard about this film when I was watching one of Jade Billington's just daily vlogs, like day in the life vlogs. And she was like, I'm gonna watch Did You Hear About the Morgans? And I was like, oh, I've never heard about that, but I really like Sarah Jessica Parker and Hugh Grant. So I was like, why not? And then I saw it was on Netflix, so I was like, yes, I'm definitely watching this tonight. Tom is at work, I'm gonna make myself some dinner and sit down and watch this film. And I'm so glad I did. It's such a good film and it's so funny. It's essentially about Sarah Jessica Parker and Hugh Grant. They're married, but they're not together anymore. And then they try to like sit down and meet each other and talk about it because they want to get back together, but do they want to get back together? And then on their way out of this restaurant, they witness someone getting shot. So then they obviously call the police and all of this, but then they have to go into witness protection because the person who shot them saw them see him shoot the person. So then they have to go to a safe house, and it's essentially about them being in a safe house together even though they're separated. So they want to be together but they don't, and they end up having to be in this house together, and it's about them dealing with each other again and still deciding whether they want to be together or not. But it's in this really small little town where there's not really anything, and there's bears and stuff like this, and it's just really funny. So there's just some scenes which make you laugh out loud, and there's some scenes where you're just like, oh, I really want you to get back together, like you're so cute together, but you're trying to work it out, and that's how she feels and that's how he feels, but they don't know how each other feels. It's just a rom-com, a really, really good rom-com. But it's always got this drama of this guy still trying to find them. But yeah, so it's really good. It's got lots of different points to it and lots of different things happen, and it really is like the opposite of The Sun Is Also a Star. Like, it's got things that always keep you interested. Like, I feel like new films aren't new films about being like visually beautiful and shot really well, whereas old films are really like, has to keep you interested. So that's why I love old films. Did You Hear About the Morgans is a really good one if you like things like that. It's like 13 going on 30 and things like that. It's always got stuff going on. It's just one of those 2000 films. So yeah, definitely watch that if you like old films. The next one is also along those lines, and it is just come on to Netflix. So it came on Saturday, the 1st of August. It came on to Netflix, but it's on Disney Plus as well. So if you like it and you have Disney Plus and not Netflix, you can watch it on there. And it's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It is amazing. It is. I always get it confused and not confused with How to 10 Things I Hate About You. They've got very similar names, which is why I get confused, but they're very different films. Essentially, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is about a lady who is a news reporter, and she has like a how-to column or like page in this magazine, and she writes different things like how to lose weight and how to do all these different things. And she has to come up with this new article because she really wants to write more like political pieces and things that she actually cares about, but she has to write a really good piece for something like Cosmo. And then her friend breaks up with this guy, but she's done all the wrong things to try and keep her. Like, she was really clingy and all of this. So she's like, oh, well, I will write about it, because I'll write about this column of how to lose a guy in 10 days by doing all of these things that girls do that are things that guys don't like, if that makes sense. Like, how to push a guy away in 10 days. So essentially telling people the opposite things, like things that you shouldn't be doing. But then the guy that she chooses to do this like test on has been given a challenge to be able to pitch. So essentially his storyline is that he's also in a magazine, but he wants to be able to advertise these jewellery products in his magazine, which are like pure diamonds and stuff like this. And his challenge is to try and get a girl to fall in love with him in 10 days, and they choose each other to do this with. So it is just so funny. He's doing so many things and putting up with all of her like stuff that she does, because he's trying to get her to fall in love with him, but she's trying to get him to fall out of love with her. And it's just so funny, like all of these things that she does, and it's just, sometimes it's infuriating to watch because she's like, ah, but yeah, it's so funny. But they're so cute by the end. Like, you know how it's gonna end just purely because it's that sort of film. But there's bits that happen throughout and you're just like, oh, I wish that would happen to me and things like that. But it's such a nice film. Like, there's again so many things that keep happening that keep you interested, and then different parts of the story happens, and then you see like feelings and thoughts develop throughout the film, and you're just like, oh, this is such a nice film. Again, it's a rom-com. Rom-coms are definitely my like genre of film. Like, I only really watch rom-coms if I'm watching them on my own. But yeah, I definitely watched this one as well. Everything this month, I'm just like, just watch it. Like, these are my top 10 things this month, and I've only watched things that I like this month. Okay, the last thing on my list is completely different, but it's a Studio Ghibli film. Me and Tom just fancied a Studio Ghibli film. I've got them all on DVD, but they've recently put all of them onto Netflix. So every single Studio Ghibli film, they've all got like numbers on the spines of the DVDs, and they've got all the ones that are numbered. But we watched Arrietty this month. I really like Arrietty. It's essentially the same as The Borrowers, so about little people in this house, and they like have to like steal like cubes of sugar to try and like survive. So they only take 1 cube of sugar, like they wouldn't be really greedy, but essentially it's about this little girl called Ariete, and this like human boy sees her, and then they end up making friends, but because he has seen her they have to move, and it's the whole film is about her like trying to stay hidden, but then the second half of the film is about them like seeing each other and being friends, but they have to move because then once he's seen her, someone else sort of clocks on, because it's a root, like a myth in their house that these people are there. So yeah, and then by the end they have to move, but it's such a nice little film. If you like anime and you like, it's not really an anime though, it's just like an animated film. It's just really nice. It's a nice, like, calm, we watched it on a Sunday film. But yeah, we love Studio Ghibli. It's a really great animation studio. Like, we really like how they make their films and the way that they are hand-drawn and all the animated style that they use within their studio. But yeah, that is it. That is my 10 things that I have watched this month and will be continuing to watching. So far I am watching Schitt's Creek. I've got the season and a half left to watch, which will last me the week and a half, because I'll make it last me the week and a half. And then I'm still watching Gilmore Girls, I'm rewatching Modern Family, I will definitely rewatch Schitt's Creek. And then there's all the stuff on Disney Plus I've got to watch, so next month's video will probably be all based on Disney Plus, because Tom moved his Xbox upstairs, which gets Disney Plus, and the PlayStation 3, which is downstairs, does not, so cannot watch it at the moment. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you're all having a great month in the sun, and hopefully not working too hard now that we're slowly coming out of lockdown. But yeah, stay safe, we love you, bye!